another reason why you want to take control of what you're doing.
Everything kind of funnels into the only winning move is not to play the game.
I don't know, guys. This whole thing sounds pre-recorded.
And it is pre-recorded because I'm sitting here with George Fonts, and we are recording this in the morning. This is a part of the weather report that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Ken's on hiatus. We decided the last show that we were going to take some time off, and when we can get a show in, we can get a show in. And so I wanted to do some coffee chats, and my first coffee chat is going to be with our guest, George Fonts of the World Ablaze with George Fonts. Good morning, George. I'm here with my coffee too.
Coffee.
So just to prove to you that we're having coffee this morning.
America's Cup.
Who knows what's in it?
But it's not Colocum Craft, is it?
It is Colocum Craft Coffee. That is directly correct. That is Colocum Craft Coffee, which is our proud sponsor of the weather report. And we want to thank Bill and Dana for actually sponsoring my show. But I love it. But George Fonts says, if you haven't seen George before, is man, let me tell you something, George. I'm gonna rub you here. You have got the freaking one of the greatest shows I've ever heard, man. You were
Really?
just so versed in so many different things, and you're right on cue with a lot of stuff that's going on in the world right now. You get some phenomenal guests on. And I'm telling you what, the last 5 episodes that you've done that I've watched lately has just been knocking it out of the park, man. And you're really in tune with what's going on, and that's why I wanted to have you back on, because man, I've got to talk to you. It bugs me in the morning, when I'm doing my morning show, the Road Rage 101, and then you come on and it's just like, oh, jeez, I want to mute it. I want to talk to George for a while,
Yeah, I love your morning show. I come on when I can, but I never want to be the guy who feels like I'm stepping on people's toes, because everybody there is a great personality. They'll have really good things to contribute.
Absolutely.
So, no, the show's great. What you do in the morning, that Road Rage 101 is pretty fun. It's a good drive to work. Problem is sometimes I'm already involved in things, so it's like I can't contribute. Or like the last time you called me out, and I'm like, oh, I don't have my earbuds. Tried to put the speakerphone in the car, and it's like, I have no idea how this sounds, but okay,
Well, it's kind of the whipping. It's kind of the whipping post for the weather report is basically what it is. Like, we're pretty serious here, but during the morning it can get pretty.
No, it's a good show. You need that. You need a fun, easy transition into the day, and you do touch on some serious stuff for sure. But there's always a twist to try to bring it back to like, hey, let's lighten things up, which is good because we can't be hardcore all the time, man.
Exactly.
We need those breaks.
You got to lighten it up for sure, especially these days, man. So, hey, I want to get right into it, man, because I said, you've had a lot of guests on. I'm going to go through them. Alex Kane, you've got Michelle Stiles, you've got Eric Robinson, John Carlos Fry, and the last one with Zolai Habibi. Is that I want to say?
Yeah, Zolal Habibi.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of them has touched on different things that are going on, current events and stuff like that, and it's really interesting. And the thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and we're going to meld all these things, because these last 5 shows that you did kind of ball into what's going on with the world right now and how we all feel about it, and how another one is just like I pound and pound and pound all the time about how divided we are, and that's a big problem to me, especially, and I don't take it personally, but my world sight and my foresight with me, my coworkers, my friends, outsources the community and everything else, it brings that all in perspective. And I'm telling you what, man, I'm not very, what do you want to call optimist about the future of what we're doing in the United States right now. I really not. And it doesn't matter how you feel about Trump.
Are you Will's black pillars?
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole thing is that it doesn't matter what you feel about Trump. It doesn't matter what you feel about Democrats or whatever.
Right.
The thing is that we're in this life. We're all in this life together, and we're all kind of right now walking around on eggshells, dude. And I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that too, and that's unfortunately something that has been going on since Well, I think started with the protests in the '60s, right? Late '60s, whatever, with Vietnam. Started there, but I think in the '90s is when it really started to um, become an era when you were chastised for your viewpoint or your belief or your opinion, and then in the 2000s, forget about it. It totally became information warfare, keeping people in line by shaming them, and then we had the whole uh, cancellation movement, right? So it's now like, well, I don't agree with you, so let me take away your income and your your livelihood, everything about you. We're just going to wipe it off the face of the earth because I don't agree with what you have to say. Kind of stabilized a bit now, but it's still there. I mean, it's that, see the underbelly of society we have right now, because the issue is like, you feel you can't say certain things, right, with certain people at the workplace, etc. But that is because your viewpoint may not be the majority viewpoint, right? And the funny thing about a workplace is, like, you're not supposed to talk about politics and all this stuff, but they absolutely do if they feel they have the majority in an opinion,
Right.
especially if you work in a place that is primarily leftist or Democrat led. And I know where where you're located in that area, it's like you can't really get away from that.
Not at all.
Yeah, and the same goes for me on many things. It's like I can't really express everything, and I gotta bite my tongue when I hear people trying to talk politics, especially geopolitics. It's like, you guys really don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you could tell it's all gleamed. Their information's all gleamed from the headlines. Like they're just like, it's ridiculous. And then if you try to say something, it's going to backfire on you. And then
Yeah.
there's always that threat of being called in the office, HR, et cetera. And then it just leads to like, oh, well, we don't believe you're a fit because you don't align with our values. It's like, well, what are your values?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's just a sad thing, but we see it in media. We see it in podcasting. I mean, let's just be honest. I think you have a great show, but it's like, we're never like, even with me, I mean, I'm not super, super big. I mean, I'm blessed to be bigger than the average, I guess,
Yep.
depending on how you look at it. But at the same time, it's like we're not getting the exposure and reach that we could because we're not playing the game.
Right.
And my approach is like, I'd rather put out quality content based on truth. I like to talk to everybody. I don't always agree with them, and you see that contrast. I know you see it because on my solo episodes, I'm a different person. But when I have a guest, I know when to pull back and just like, let's have this conversation. I want to hear your side. And I've had some guests not want to be on the show because they're like, oh, you're a MAGA guy, whatever. It's like, well, I don't even know where that came from. Maybe because in the beginning
Where
when
did
Trump
that
was,
come from?
yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe because when Trump was running, I was behind Trump. I mean, look at the alternative. I was not going to let another Democrat be in office for another 4 years or even the potential of another 8 years. It's like, it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't that I hated Democrats. It was just like the people that they were pushing up as the option. It's like, was this really the best you guys can do? And now they're so broken. I mean, they're running against each other. We got Jasmine Crockett I mean, still went to went to Tellerico, another Democrat, but at the same time.
Oh my God, that guy is just, you listen to him and you go like, oh my God, this guy's even worse.
Oh man,
He's Jasmine Crockett without the Ubonics,
Wow. they have no direction. They're just doing the same old tired playbook. And I think as much as the oppression of valid opinions, informed opinions, the thing is, like, guys like us, I believe we're not taking, well, let me rephrase this. We're always swimming upstream. To me, it's not always about what's popular. It's about what's right, what's true. And when you mentioned that episode I had with John Carlos Frey, the guy's a 6-time Emmy award-winning journalist, 20-something years of just investigating the border patrol, migrants. And unfortunately, that episode kind of got buried because as soon as we're going to release it and we're talking, here goes the war with Iran.
Yep.
And it's like, damn it, so.
And you got to switch gears, and you have to.
Yeah, and the fortunate thing is, not to discredit him at all, because it has nothing to do with popularity of him whatsoever, or even me. It's just like they moved on already. It's like the timing. So it's like this news cycle doesn't help us either. But, the more those videos stay out in these interviews and, like our discussions, people will discover them, and they usually end up in the end doing fairly well.
Yeah.
But I really felt bad about that. I was like, man, John, we're going back and forth. His people were like, yeah, I'm not sure. You're kind of a Maggie guy. We believe in migrants. I'm like, well, what makes you think I don't?
Yeah,
Let's talk.
exactly. I mean, I think that's good. That's what gets caught in the mix when we're out there and we're convincing with our friends and confidants and family and stuff like that, is that they all lump us into either one side or the other. There's no real mix. There's no real kind of, I want to call goulash,
Yeah.
where everything is kind of mixed in together. Because I know you and you know me, and we talk,
Right.
on different shows and stuff like that. We're just multifaceted, and it's just not a MAGA thing. It's just I was a Democrat for a long time. I was a Bernie bro. My God, I was a Bernie bro.
I was too,
Yeah.
But the Democrats were different back then. I mean, many of our people that we communicate with, like our circle, they all say pretty much the same thing. They've changed. Because look, let's go back the night. Let's look at Clinton era Democrats, right? They were all for closing the borders, deporting people. They were on there saying immigrants are stealing our jobs. Like, they were doing everything that they're now saying is wrong with the messaging and the direction of the current Trump administration. And I'm like, if I put you guys up like this, you're the same fucking party. But all of a sudden, between here and here, it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then their excuses like, well, we do evolve. And
yeah, well,
let
me say, in marketing, it's always known to everybody that the person does not evolve. The same marketing that's been working in the 1930s is working now.
Absolutely.
And and marketers know that, and they use those same tactics and stuff like that. But really, when it comes down to this geopolitics, you brought up geopolitics. Let's kind of back into that. Is that everybody uses headlines. I mean, I've got all kinds of headlines we could talk about this morning about geopolitics. All of a sudden, everybody is attuned to Iran. Everybody knows everything about Iran.
Yeah.
You know what? I tell you what. I don't know shit about Iran. I know how I feel about Iran, but I do know this about Iran. I was a young airman in a Titan II missile silo in 1979 when they took the hostages, and I know exactly the readiness that I had to be at, being in that missile silo at that time, scared out of my gourd because I'm freaking 18 and 19 years old at the time, and you're there in a nuclear missile silo. The alarm goes off, you're ready to do it, and you're just waiting. I mean, they put us on high alert. I remember the Iran before the Shah, was deposed and gone. And I know, and I've lived through this history. And kind of the reason why I wanted you on here, because the last 5 episodes is kind of spanned over that time where we realized that what's going on in Iran right now is different than it was going on in the 70s. Okay. We've got 3 generations of people already that have passed by that. So some of these people that are out there and they're protesting, especially the young people, have no idea about what went on in the 70s. All they know is that they're tired of being oppressed. And I got a really pointed question here that I wanted to say. In 1979, it was the students that was doing the uprising to bring on the regime that they have now in Iran. And now we're supposed to trust those same students that are protesting now to try to bring change into Iran. Now, I know those students are different now than they were in the 70s, but these are still the young people that are creating this movement. What do you think about that?
I think the difference is, well, there's a few parts to that, Bruce.
Yeah.
So in 1979, what happened was the Islamic regime took advantage of what was going on with the current Shah at the time. When he nationalized oil, for example, a lot of people thought, traditionalists or conservatives, being those who were practitioners of Islam. Sorry, morning, getting my coffee in, but
it's okay.
But those who were practitioners of Islam, who took it very conservatively or very literally, they've been wanting to take control for years. Okay, we got a 1,400-year-old religion that was also invented 600 years after Christianity.
Mhm.
And even if you look at it from that point of view, Christianity was founded after Christ, which still doesn't even, if you look at that gap in time between Christianity and Islam, and you want to go further back, you go back to the the Abrahamic teachings, right, go back to the Old Testament, Islam is even further removed by a few thousand years. So the reality is Islam was on a mission. Those who practice Islam were on a mission to convert and take over many nations. Happened to Istanbul, so Constantinople was taken, right? Turned into now what is today Turkey,
Right.
which is a Muslim nation. And so they were doing the same thing in Persia. Okay, so there's a lot of history here. This was a long, slow, steady mission to convert. It's not the original religion of Iran, which is what is known as Iran today. And a lot of people don't realize that. And even now, there are people who live in Iran that are not Muslims, or at least not the Muslim that you see that is being presented
Mhm.
by the Islamic regime, or those who practice extreme Islam.
It's not the evil. Yeah, it's not the evil extreme
Right.
part of the
So there's a
religion, of
difference
course,
between people taking advantage of a religion to gain power and control, which is exactly what the regime did in 79, because the people were not happy with the Shah. They thought he was trying to become too westernized. They didn't like that the oil was being nationalized. They thought that he was pandering to the UK and the USA at the time. But a lot of people ignore why the USA ever got involved anyway. And the history even goes before that, is that it came down to trying to keep communism out of the area. Because a lot of people never talk about, or they intentionally ignore, that in Afghanistan, that, Russia of the time, or the USSR of the time, was trying to gain a foothold in the area and control it. They also were doing the same thing with Iran. And a lot of people ignore that fact of history, or that part of history. They just see, the U.S. intervention, the UK, and they screwed everything up, and they forced regime change. Well, that's not what really happened. The U.S. really got involved to try to help those who were against the rise of communism and or even Islam to take over. So there's those things that they don't talk about, but 79 was ripe for the taking for the Islamic regime, because people were fed up with the Shah at the time. They didn't think that he was doing what's right, and he was also, his regime also, or was doing things that were considered very authoritarian. He was arresting people, he was silencing people. Yeah, so you got this monarchy that seemed to be benevolent for the people, that was starting to turn away from the people and treat them like, no, you're my subjects.
Yep.
So getting to your question here, the way to change the nation is to force change through the youth. And of course, that's why you saw that happening with college students, just as you see in America.
Yeah.
I mean, where do all the protests and the ideas of communism, Marxism, socialism, where do those all come from? It's all from the people that are in the colleges, the universities, higher
Academia.
education, they call it.
Yeah, academia.
Yeah, academia for sure. But they call it higher education, but I got to question that. Is it really higher education? I mean, it seems like forced indoctrination to me. And so that's what they did. It's an old playbook. And if you look at 1979 of Iran, that is what they did. They worked with the youth. They infiltrated the universities. They're like, no, this is the way. They were trying to preach how, we will take care of the people. We got to turn Iran back to its traditional roots. But the problem with that, the traditional roots really wasn't Islam as much as they want to claim it is.
Right.
So they easily were able to take advantage of the situation, and they did. They lied to the people, and once they got into power, they did exactly what they were warned, that everybody was warning, or the West was warning everybody about, and they assert themselves, became powerful to control the people, and then they instilled their view of Islam, which was a very authoritarian view of it, very rigid, very strict, and they suppressed the people to control them. They control the internet, they control everything. And so the difference between then and now, and why you see maybe 3 generations removed, is because the internet is huge, it's prevalent. Like, there's only so much of the outside world in today's modern world that you can suppress.
And let's accent that. Let's accent that what they've been disarmed also. So you have a disarmed society against a society that against a government that has all the weapons also.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just it. That is another tactical playbook that you see that we see in extreme Islam, we see in communism, right?
Yep.
So, how many communist countries you see where the people actually own weapons personally?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
doesn't happen.
Yeah. So fast forwarding into what we have dealing with the United States and in certain areas of the United States. Let's just take New York City. We've got Mandami, who was just elected by the people
Right.
to lead the New York City, one of the largest cities in America. And now we got communism coming in there, and this was all brought forth by a young vote. I mean, let's face it. When they came out to vote for that, a lot of the young people came out and they decided that they wanted to vote. And this is being a part of the situation where 3 generations from my generation, 3 or 4 generations from my generation, are now looking at everybody and going like, oh my God, we're going to leave this freaking government to these kids. And it doesn't scare me as much. I mean, I'm sure that back when I was started, when I was back in that missile silo in 1979, I just voted for the first time in my whole life. My parents looking at me going like, oh my God, we're going to leave this world up for these kids. I mean, so it's a perpetual statement that keeps going on and on and on. But what do you think about that? I mean, so there's some similarities, there's some duopoly there with the way that the college students are now being taught by academia in the colleges, that of course they're using the same old playbook as you just noted, and going forward with that.
It's part of the communist Marxist playbook, literally. And the reason, so you brought up 3 generations a few times, and that's important to note, because the process is long, slow, and steady.
Mm-hmm.
It's not instant.
It's drip, it's a drip.
It is a drip. It's a constant. I mean, it's a programming of the people, and that's what's been happening. And it's been happening through, again, higher education and academia. And this is what they do. Okay, 3rd generation, right? 3rd generation from your time, for example. The reality is, what they did is slowly introduce the ideas of a better world through socialism.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marxism, and saying, well, maybe the way of the U.S., our political structure, capitalism is just bad. The reason everything is bad in the USA is because of capitalism. The reason the world is bad is because the USA is the big bad bully that's beating everybody over the head with a stick. And that message has been constant for, as you said, going on 3 generations. So eventually, it's like, if you're going to have to, let's say if you breed an animal and you want a different trait out of that animal, it takes time through manipulating the DNA, right, over time. And then eventually that's how you get like a Shetland pony, or, a certain dog breed example. I'm not equating animals to politics here, but I think it's a valid okay.
I would.
But I think that's a valid example, because that's how they're doing it to the people, through controlling the messaging. And being consistent in the message without being overwhelming. So it's like a slow, steady, it's like if I told you every day, the sky isn't blue, it's black, and I never changed my position. Eventually, one day you're going to question whether it was blue.
Exactly.
So that's what they've been doing. So that's why you see this. Now, what didn't help, though, when we're talking about Mamdani, what didn't help is you got to question, okay, we understand the messaging in academia and them trying to change the people's view over 3 generations. But that doesn't explain why Kathy Hochul got behind Mamdani. It doesn't explain why AOC did, or why Bernie Sanders. Like, why are these people who are, older? Well, AOC is still a little bit younger.
Yeah, it's not that typical Democrat. It's not that typical Democrat.
Right. Why were they able to get behind them?
Yeah, that we've evolved with. Yeah, exactly.
And so Mamdani ran as a Democratic socialist in the damn name. How are they able to get behind him for the sake of just hating Trump is really what it was. And Trump being such a polarizing figure, they're like, no matter what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that we control this. And here's the new thing that the youth are kind of latching onto. So we're going to support this. But as soon as he was in office, him and Kathy Hochul have been like this. She's kind of like pulled the reins in on, like, oh, you can and can't do certain things. Even though the city of New York should be managed by Mamdani, I mean, honestly, being the mayor, Kathy also realized, like, well, this is the jewel of New York State. Like, this, everything that is done here is a message sent to the world, just like people consider San Francisco to be that in California.
Right.
Even though you and I definitely probably don't feel that way.
We don't agree with that.
Yeah. But I think that's what happened. It's, everybody's been warning about this, and everybody's been ignoring, saying, "Oh, you guys are just, far right. You just don't want to change. You're old. You just don't understand the evolution of the world around you. It's modern." No bullshit. You
Yeah.
allowed it to happen. It's like you never fixed the leaky faucet, and here we go. Now it's a flood in your damn bathroom. Now it's leaking out into the kitchen, and it's taking over your house. And I don't know how they're going to turn it off unless they
Yeah.
step in and literally just say, "This shit stops now."
Right.
Um,
Right.
and we've seen the same thing through the use of manipulating the immigration system. How our borders have been handled, how there's been preferential treatment given to certain groups
Mm.
that immigrate. We can talk about the Somalis in Minnesota. We can talk about what's going on our southern border with Mexico, but not just Mexico. Most peoples from South America or from Latin America, and you can see how the policies have shifted over the years to like one day going, immigrants are the future. Okay, well that's been going on since maybe you can correct me here. I think it was around around the 60s is when that started like happening
Yeah.
more prevalently. Is that correct?
Yeah. Because you had the farm workers union, coming into California and really basically restructuring how they did farming here and
Right.
agriculture. So that's been prevalent for a long time, as long as I can remember. And like I said, this whole thing has evolved over time, like you were mentioning. And we could get into them. I mean, this all revolves around every single episode that you've had in the last 5 episodes, that kind of melded into one.
Kind of ties together, huh?
Yeah, I mean, immigration. I mean, world consequences as far as war and stuff like that. Venezuela. I mean, I just read I have a thing here from NPR that came out of Fox News this morning about Venezuela that has really changed since Maduro has left. And where in hell
Well,
is Maduro?
Who knew, right? I guess
Yeah,
the
who
U.S. was
knew?
lying,
Yeah,
right?
who knew that was going to change? We've got the what else? We got Trump getting into to Iran. I mean, back to that. This whole thing is that I think that you were kind of sad about the fact that you had Jacob Fry on and
John,
or John, excuse me, John Carlos Fry, and having to the news cycle go past that.
right.
I talk a lot about the shiny object, Epstein files, the war, this taking over this Nancy, whatever her name is,
Mace,
not Nancy Mace, the missing grandma. All these things, all these things take precedence over the news cycle, and then we forget about what's going on, in the background. We forget about that. This is what's front and center.
Yes.
I'm starting to believe that all those things are important and true. I mean, but the news cycle is going to be the news cycle. Whatever sells advertising is what's going to lead, regardless of whether or not we're still looking for, Savannah's grandma, regardless of whether we're still asking for the Epstein files to be, everything, to be released. No matter what we feel about immigration, no matter what we feel about Mandami. Now Iran is in the, that's the focal point.
Okay, so but the thing is with media, and I know you know this, but I'm going to say it. It's out of our control, and the
Yep.
people pulling the strings. It's like when you're driving your car, a race car. It's like you have control of the throttle. Like you can rev it up, you can slow it down, and the news cycle's fast, but they do conveniently speed it up to basically sidestep certain events, right? There's things that have happened recently that didn't get a lot of attention. I mean, for example, they just signed. I don't know what it was actually named. I have to look it up, but I saved the info. The coalition of South Americans or the Americas. I mean, to where many Latin American countries signed an agreement with the U.S. to absolutely go after narco terrorists and root them out. And they did so agreeing to do it in a military fashion, meaning the U.S. now has the power to work with these governments to go into their countries with military to take out these narco terrorists.
Yeah.
Who didn't sign? Mexico. Why? I don't know. But anyway, that happened, and you saw a blip. It's like, okay, here we go, big old Iran, like you said. But Iran's a big deal because we've been on a collision course with them, as I said before, um, with other people for about 50 years. I mean, this isn't an overnight thing. The problem is we had about 50 years of bad policy and inaction that led us to where we are now. And everybody's trying to say, well, not everybody, but those paid influencers are like, oh, it's Israel. We're doing everything at the behest of Israel. No, we're not. When you have a regime whose policy is death to America and to conquer the West intentionally, eventually shit's going to hit the fan. Regardless of the past presidents we had who didn't want to do anything and actually release funds to Iran for whatever reason, I have no idea. They are the number one state sponsor of terrorism, period. You're not going to take that away. The problem that we see is what I don't want to see is people constantly saying Iran, Iran, Iran. They should be referencing the Islamic regime or the Iranian regime and the IRGC. Those are the two issues we have in Iran. It's not necessarily
two different issues too. Two different issues also. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's the thing that I'm hoping that people are more educated on. It's like you don't want to just say Iran constantly and people start to see Iranian people as the problem. They have to bring the attention to what it really is. It's the IRGC and it's the Islamic regime or the Iranian regime that's been in control. The problem with Iran is they have to completely root out this theocratic government. They have to also make sure that Islam is never front and center in making the decisions for the people as a whole or as a nation, and that includes everything from their own nation to their geopolitical relationships. If you want to follow that particular religion, it should be a personal thing. And and you could say this is a Western idea, but not really, because again, it's not the inherent religion of Persia. It's just not.
Yeah, and let's bring that to the forefront. I mean, they talk about the United States being a Christian nation. I mean, I'm a Christian. I consider myself a Christian. I follow, I believe in God and everything. But I don't think it should define our nation. I don't think, like exactly with Iran, I don't think that the Muslim or Islamist faith should be the prevalent point of their existence as a nation. I don't think the Christian faith should be the focal point of our nation. Its values and its morals that really drive this world. And like you said, I think it was this last episode that you have with the who was it, Zola. You kind of pressed on that. It was just like, that's a personal thing. My walk with God, my walk with the Bible, my walk with my faith is my personal journey. It shouldn't be a part of my country. Now, those morals and values should be, and I think the Islam faith, I think their morals and values should be. I know plenty of Muslim people that are just kind as hell. They think that this is all crazy just as much as we do. I mean, it's the fringes on both sides that are just like the ones that are the craziest. And I think we need to get away from that. And I don't know how to get away from that, because you're always going to have the crazy fundamentalists that somehow rise into power.
Well, the problem is we let Islamic fundamentalism in general, and I'm not saying us as the Americans or the West, but even in the Middle East, they rose to power, and once they had it, they kept it. By disarming people, by creating these terrorist groups or funding them. And I think, if we're honest, I don't think these people actually believe in actual real Islam. I mean, they've cherry picked it apart and molded it into the doctrine that they use to manipulate and control people, period.
Yeah, and we have too. And that's where I was trying to get to duopoly in between the two factions of, I want to say factions, because everybody's going like, oh, this is this is between evil and
good and
evil. It's the superhero fight,
But there's so much nuance and gray area there that, people don't want to address. I guess it's just easier to go, bad, good, fight, whatever. So example I used last time was also this. It's like, I told Zalal, like, look, this isn't the West or America saying Muslims bad or we hate Muslims. And I'm tired of people taking it that way or trying to push that messaging, even from her side, by the way. That's not the message that's trying to be driven. The message is, we understand they're good people. We understand people are born into things that they have no control of. Like, if you're born into that area, you're going to be a Muslim, period.
Right.
But in the modern age, there's only so much you can control in terms of messaging. We know this. Things get into Iran, into areas, because the internet is, it's too big. Social media is too big. eventually they're going to be introduced to these other ideas and start to question things. It doesn't mean that they themselves are not going to practice Islam, but they're going to understand that we live in a modern world. And my example was, well, let's look at the Bible. If we look at the Old Testament, it was very brutal.
Yes.
If we practiced Christianity by the literal Old Testament ways of living, we'd be in a very different world right now. We'd probably look closer to what Iran was, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. But we realize, like, you have to adapt, you move on. We can't just stone people. We can't cut their hands off. We get it. There's other ways of dealing with it. There's still ways to punish and hold people accountable. And so that's what I told her. It's like there is the difference. And I think people got to understand that, because there was a time Christianity, before it was called Christianity, was brutal. It evolved after Jesus, after the New Testament. That's pretty much what I think the modern world was based on, was moving forward the New Testament. It evolved. And yes, it's older than Islam. And I can get into all that, but let's just let that be for now. And I think that we need to understand, the world needs to understand that not all Muslims literally believe what is being sensationalized in the media. And, we can call it sensationalization, but at the same time, I mean, if every time you see a terrorist group claiming their allegiance to Islam and Allah and whatever, and they're just committing violent acts and cutting people's heads off and cutting their hands and feet off and raping women, I mean, that's not a good thing. And that's why you have people believing what they believe. And then we have the soft invasion of the West, and I press Zalal on this too. It's like, you can't deny that the people are starting to feel the way they are, because look, if Islam, the way it has been presented, not saying everybody who practices, but the way it's been presented and what we see in extreme Islamic practitioners, the way that they practice it basically, is that this invasion of the West, if they believe that it was so good, why are they leaving? Why are they infiltrating
Exactly.
the UK? Why are they wanting to be in the US? And the thing is, it's not like they want to integrate. Some have, but you have groups that are literally saying, we're going to start our own community where we're going to have our own gates, our own police, our own schools. We're going to have our own way. No, that's you trying to set up a country within a country. Let's just call it what it is. It's a fucking invasion.
Yeah.
You're literally telling the country, the destination in which you are traveling to, that we're just here to take over because we're going to do things our way. We don't care about your laws. Or, oh, fine, your laws exist outside our gates. No, that's not how the world works. That's not how it works.
Right. And that's a huge difference between what's going on with the immigration coming from South America and like I said, back in the 60s when we were talking about the farm workers and stuff, is like the people from South America, Mexican people, Hispanic people, even people from China and other places that are coming in, came here for a fact is that they wanted this freedom. They wanted what we have. They want to come here and they want to work, whether they get here by boat, whether they get here by plane, whether they get here by crossing the border and over the deserts and all that other stuff. That's another thing. But I want to talk about immigration policy now. Is that we've had a problem with this forever. Now, you can have your opinion on whether you think that Trump is too hard on the immigrants. I happen to think that way. I lean that way, that I think that the this broad brushing of immigration is gone a little bit too far. I wish that we could kind of pull back the reins on it or so, but that's not going to happen for another 3 years. And maybe not even then. But the fact of the matter is that we are a nation of immigrants, but the cultural in your face of what other people want to come and do, like you said about Somalians and some other people that want to come in here, is just beyond what we thought about being a melting pot, So it's like, let's kind of go back to like when Ellis Island was around, so they would come in, they would go through Ellis Island, they would either be quarantined for a while and then led into the United States, and they would come in and they would have these boroughs. That's where the 5 boroughs of New York City came in.
Yeah,
because one was Italian, one was Irish, one was white people, one was this, one was that. and they did kind of set up their own thing. I mean, you got the mafia, you got this and that, that went on. You even got the Irish gangs and stuff like that. But still, they're looking at Western values. They're looking at this melting pot of people that actually eventually got together and became a people that had similar values. And that's what's lacking. I think that's what's lacking today in our immigration policies and letting people in and being able to do these things. You've got people down in Texas that are trying to set up these communities that they don't want anybody in. You got places in Minneapolis where you can't go. A white person can't go. And the law of Minneapolis will not let them, they say you need to get out of here. This is not your place.
Right.
Bullshit. Are you kidding me? I mean,
well, okay. So let's compare and contrast. What happened with the immigrants? When we're talking about the period with Ellis Island and the influx of immigrants, one of the not anymore after Biden, but it was one of the largest periods of immigration into the United States. But it was very much controlled. Now let's just be honest about something. I don't have a problem, and I don't think you do, about people having communities. But when your community is closing out the nation in which you were choosing to set up your home, your family, and the rest of your life, and you're just putting a big middle finger up into the air and saying, fuck America, because, we're just going to take what we had here and we're just going to do it on your land. That's basically all you're doing is admitting you're just here for economic reasons. That's it.
Right. Yep.
And that's the problem that I see right now, is that America, or the USA, is being treated more like an economic zone than a land of opportunity based on our Constitution, our laws, and whatever the USA can offer you. People just see it as an economic zone, period. And that's not what we are. We're not an economic zone. When we're talking about Latin America, Mexico, most of those people coming here are for economic reasons. Look, Mexico is a conundrum to me, because it's like they have a beautiful capital. Mexico City, so modern, so clean, beautiful. And then you start getting away from these cities, and it's like Mexico is a majority impoverished nation, period. Most of these people are making less than $10 a day to live. So where are you going to go? Well, my neighbor in the north offers opportunities. So they're literally risking their lives just to make money to survive. I mean, you got people who have to pay medical bills. They're just tired of being oppressed and controlled by the cartels in the area. And I always put it on the Mexican government. I get pushback. I get a lot of comments from people. But look, just because you're from Mexico doesn't mean you have to ignore the fucking reality. Right. Period. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying is racist. No, it's the truth. Your government has been complicit, and they have done nothing to stamp out the power and control of the cartels. It's been going on since the late 70s. This has been a long time.
Yeah, and the U.S. hasn't helped either. Yeah,
no. Well, hold on. I was just going to go there, because look, a lot of people want to point the finger at the U.S., but what are the issues that they say about the U.S. and not helping? They say, oh, well, the U.S. is the number one drug market, so it's your fault because all you guys do is consume drugs. Oh, well, all the guns come from America, so that's the other reason that the cartels are armed. No, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, before the opioid epidemic by legal pharmaceutical companies, we didn't have this epidemic of drug abuse that we see. Okay, people got hooked on medications that were prescribed by their doctors. Opioids got people hooked, and then when they started regulating it, they were looking for other highs. When did cocaine come into the country? It was always around, but it was really pushed in the late 70s and the early 80s. Okay, it wasn't around since 100. It's like, no, let's just be honest about these things. These markets were created, and they were introduced, and then once the cartels figured out, well, these Americans really like this stuff, they did what any other businessman would do. They'd go, I want to control and expand this market. We're going to make the product even more addicting, and we're going to keep pushing it. So it's not always the US.
Yeah, find a need, fill the need. Yeah.
So the thing they ignore is, well, the U.S. it's the U.S.'s fault. Same thing with the guns. Yeah, sure. Obama fucked up with the Fast and Furious thing. I don't know what he was thinking with that. Like, oh, we'll be able to trace the what? How? Once it gets past that border, how are you really going to have control of that? But they also ignore the straw purchases here in the U.S., where the cartels, they do control the American gangs. A lot of people don't want to say that, but look, if a cartel member comes to an American gang here, American Latin gang, and they say you're doing this, you think that gang's gonna say no, cartel? You're in Mexico, you have no control. Fuck no, they're gonna be like, yes,
Yeah.
sir. And so they're using friends and family with clean records to go out and buy these weapons, and then they get smuggled back into Mexico.
Right.
Some of it comes from Canada. Now, going back to drugs, Bruce, let's keep blaming the U.S., but let's not also say, well, why is it that the cartels are trying to enter the European and Asian markets with drugs? We have 300 tons of cocaine annually that is seized by the Europeans that just come from the fucking Mexican cartels. And if we're talking about Venezuela, we had 250 metric tons of cocaine that was shipped out of Venezuela under Venezuelan control while Maduro was there, protected by his government and his military, that went to Asia. Asia is the second biggest market right now where their cocaine is worth twice the price of what it is in America. It's a global issue. It's a global issue. So this finger pointing between America and Mexico is stupid to me because, like, we're neighbors. We should be working together.
Yeah.
Like, why are we fighting? Why are we blaming the Americans, and why are we blaming the Mexicans? No, it's the people didn't do this. It was the inaction of our governments and complicitness of our governments and the inability for us to come together and work together that got the cartels to the point of where they're at. So I would say it's both the U.S. and Mexico's fault.
Yeah. And circling back to the drip theory that we've been talking about is exactly what you're saying. It's like over generation, this has happened. I mean, you made a comment about Mexico City being this great big beautiful city. We have great big beautiful cities here. San Francisco is a great big beautiful city. No matter what you think about it, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, architecturally, it's awesome.
Beautiful city. It's freaking awesome. Any kind of metro city is beautiful here. But as we pan out in America, when you go out to Gilroy, Salinas, go out to Sacramento, Modesto, and stuff like that, still beautiful, still modern, still everything is technologically connected to the cities and everything else. The wealth is, the economies are, and all that stuff. And you don't find that in Mexico. You got Mexico City, you got the coastal towns that are all
the tourist
and
cities,
stuff like. Yeah. But you pull back from there, and then you have the ghettos, you have the problems, you have the cities or towns that just don't get any type of that support, but they find their support within those cities. So I mean, it's really a far cry from what we're used to, because we're used to go outside of the city, you hit the suburbs, and everything is just hunky-dory, and we just go along with life. It's way different
the difference is, like, you pull back here, at least we still have power, water, and
right
methods and means to run an actual small town or city. I mean, we may not like them. Sure, there's pockets of poverty, but what you see with Mexico is you have a concentration of wealth within a small area, considerably in relation to the size of Mexico. Right. And when you start pulling back, you have people piecing their houses together. You have tents, you have, people looking for work that they can't find, again, living for $10 or less a day. And it's like, well, where is the help for those people?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
we look at Mexico, and we look at this great big country, and we're going like, it's a beautiful country. I've got friends of mine who live in the interior of Mexico, where there's no cities and stuff like. It's a beautiful country. It has fantastic and just immense resources, just like the United States. People think it's just all desert. They think of the spaghetti westerns, and all that. Everything's desert.
Yeah.
Bandoleros and and stuff like. It's not like that. It's mountains, and it's streams, and it's this, and it's that. It's a beautiful country.
I think it's important for people to hold on to their rage and realize that just because someone's being critical doesn't mean we're basically spewing hate and vitriol towards you or your nation. I mean, when your own people living there, when they finally come out and go, you know what, you're kind of right, and this is how it is. And that happens. I've had people come out and say, yeah, this is how it is, and they want the change, they're looking for it. But if we're talking about Mexico and the U.S., I don't see why Mexico's in the position they are. And people will blame America and say, well, it's because of capitalism and you're taking it. Well, look, Mexico has many other countries they can deal with economically.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's stopping them from selling their amazing goods and services to other nations?
Absolutely.
You
I
know,
mean, Ken, the co-host on the show, says, South America is probably the greatest emerging nation out of everybody because, man, the resources that they have down there.
Tons of resources.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be an economic power. We could be very much, in 25 years left behind because South America just is ready to explode that way.
I don't know. I just think we should support each other more in this hemisphere. And again, I'm going to go back to like, why was there the coalition of the Americas where we had, all these Latin American nations willing to sign and come to an agreement with America to literally, for the purpose, root out drug cartels and the control of cartels, and yet Mexico didn't.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't get it. So again, we're not going to bash Mexico. It's just
no, I don't want to bash them, and I didn't intend to bash Mexico because
no, you're not. Maybe I am. I'm just saying I don't want to bash Mexico. I'm just bringing up points based on interviews I've had, people I talk to, people I know. I mean, my friends who have family in Mexico. Like I get info just like you do. It's like this isn't a closed off world. And it goes back to what we were talking about with Iran. As much as they want to try to close their people off from the world, in the modern era, it is too hard to do. So it's like, let's stop ignoring the truth and have real conversations just like we're having. That's what we need to do and realize that, look, the narratives aren't going to work anymore. People are getting smarter or they have more access to information anyway. Eventually they're going to come across the truth.
Right. And you've got a good insight on that with the information age and everybody having access to this. And I don't care what your social and economic status is, you have a cell phone. I mean, there's very few places in the world that don't have access to the internet and cell phones and this media that we've got going forward. Now they might have access to different media and stuff like that. That's going to steer their way this way or that way. But for the most part, if you're smart enough, you can get past that and get to where you need to be. With that in mind, I don't know which way, and I'm not worried about it. I'm 66 years old. What do I got? Another 15, 20 years on this earth.
Damn, morbid Bruce.
But for younger,
black-pilled morbid Bruce.
but for younger people, I mean, that are going to be, that have more years than I do on this earth. Where do you think that's going with them? Are we looking at more of a one world, one government? Are you worried about that, or do you think that we're still going to be independent nations going forward?
The thing I worry about with that direction is the lack of uniqueness and the abolishment of culture. Mm-hmm. That's the problem that I see, and that's what we see now. Like we were just talking about, the 3 generations removed. In the USA and how everything's going towards, open borders, no culture, or the accusation of anybody in America that is white steals everybody else's culture.
Right.
And it's like, no, there are differences. America absolutely does have a culture. And if we keep moving towards this agenda, it's being pushed by the WEF, for example. We're not going to have any uniqueness anymore. It's just going to be like, we're going to look like a giant city. Look what we see in America. Like we go from city to city. We're even losing that uniqueness with our small towns. Yeah. It's like, you're just going to see it all be Best Buys, Home Depots, and McDonald's everywhere. Yeah. Everyone's going to be wearing the same clothes. They're going to have the same talk. It's like, it's going to be a very boring, stale world if we can't hold on to our cultures and what makes everything unique. And it's not like we should be fighting against each other. Like my culture is better than yours. You're white, I'm brown. No, fuck all that. Yeah. We should be able to enjoy what we have to offer. And if it gets melded together at some point, just like it did in America, like we could say Italian food from Italy is not the Italian food in America. Well, of course it's not, because those immigrants had to work with what they had here. Right. And they did a great job at making, let's call it American Italian food. I don't care. It's delicious. I like it. Whatever. Yeah. Same thing with Mexican food, Mexican culture. Some of the music, I can't understand it, but you can't deny it. It doesn't have some beat and rhythm to it, right? Yeah. When you get going, you see a bunch of people dancing, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm cool. I got a few tequilas in, let's go. And then, the food, like who could deny the food? Let's just be honest.
But the problem is that every business that shuts down here in California becomes a taqueria.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. But see, there's the other danger. It's like, this goes back to what we're talking about with the open borders and America being viewed as an economic zone. Do we want America to become Mexico? Do we want America to become the Middle East? Because that seems
No.
to be where it's heading. And it's because we've been conditioned to believe that we should feel bad about calling these things out. Like, and especially when it comes to skin color. Oh, you're white. You don't have an opinion. You're an oppressor.
Yeah.
You're the reason the world is wrong. Like, no. I don't know how many white people are trying to invade the Middle East right now to set up shop and raise their families. I'm sorry. It's the other way around. It really is. I can see the argument for like, sure, there's some white people would love to live in Mexico, but the reason why your tourism is down is because you can't control what's going on with your cartels. And so my fear is we're going to lose our uniqueness. We're going to lose our cultures across the world, by the way, not just saying America. It's going to happen. It's going to spread that way. And that we're just going to become, our history is going to be wiped away. Like nothing's going to exist. It's just going to be like a big reset, which is exactly what they want to do. One world government. They want to reset the world, and they want to be able, well, let's just be honest. It's easier to control everybody if they're all of the same mindset and all traveling the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm. But I'm still kind of confused on the cultures, because we're always going to have culture. There's always going to be the Mexican culture. There's always going to be the Middle East culture. There's always going to be the UK culture. There's always going to be the Irish culture, the Italian culture. I mean, I don't know how you get rid of that sliver that's going to always be in there.
Through the soft invasion we're seeing of the mass migration or immigration of Middle Eastern peoples, Muslims, and through open border policies. Let's just be honest. I mean, it just comes down to how many babies are white people having.
True.
They're getting bred out.
But I mean, when does the let me say, the me and yous that think it's abhorrent for somebody to marry an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old or to rape
three
a
generations.
Woman. I mean, yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I understand. And again, it'll happen once the culture in place is outnumbered by the invading culture. And then let's also look at media. How long has it been in movies and TV shows where it's all about mixing races and mixing cultures? Like, brown person marries white girl marries black guy. And I don't care about that, by the way. I'm just bringing it up as an example of subtle messaging that over time conditions you. I don't have anything against that, Bruce. So I just want to throw that out there.
No, I get it. We get it.
But it is one of the subtleties in messaging that has been pushed in America and the world for a long time.
Right.
The problem is you only really see that acceptance in Western nations.
Right.
You're not really seeing that in other nations for some reason.
Yeah.
And if we don't comply with that idea, then we're the racist people.
I get it. Because we see the sensationalization of it in the UK, where they're going like, oh, they're raping our women on the streets, the people coming in here. And then those same leaders are going like, well, we got to let them do what they need to do and this and that. And that really, really bothers me a lot.
Wrong.
It's wrong. It's wrong. And I don't know if it's going to happen in my time frame, basically, where it's going to be accepted, 15, 20 years from now, when I'm watching TV going like, whatever, and I never want to get that way.
Yeah. And
it's scary.
There is no moral argument for any human to make a case for marrying an 8-year-old and raping women. There just isn't. I'm sorry. The only reason you're doing that is because you're trying to capture a culture and a people, and you're trying to stamp them out through reproduction. Mm-hmm. That's it. You're just trying to impregnate the world to have more people of your ilk born that you can capture, condition, control, program, and release out into the world. This is a tactic used to do exactly what you and I are talking about, which is to change the culture and change the world to become more of a a singular worldview, a singular mindset. You know, like this has been talked about as far back as the Star Trek stories, except they paint a utopian view of what the world could be.
Exactly.
But I don't
They
I don't
do.
think that's what what's going to happen here, because it's going to backfire on those who are in control and pulling the strings. It
I
just
think
is.
I think before I let you go, because we both have to be respectful of time today, is I don't want to say who's going to win, who's going to lose, but where do you see us 10 years from now? Where do you see the U.S.? Where do you see the world 10 years from now?
I don't know. I think unless Western nations can stand up to all the craziness and realize that they got to preserve who they are and preserve their cultures, even if it's a melting pot, as most people will say. If they don't start doing that, I think you're going to see the destruction of Western nations. And honestly, you're probably either going to see a world controlled by communist China, or it's going to be a world under the thumb of Islam.
Mm. Yep,
Period.
yep, yep.
You know, and I don't care about how anybody else feels about this, because you can see it. We're on that trajectory. And, you know, people hate Trump for what he's doing right now. Well, you know, if more of our presidents would have, you know, treated foreign policy the way he has, we wouldn't be having these conversations.
Mm.
But
Yep.
yeah, I see the decline of Western nations. I see that if we don't stick to our guns, so to speak, you know, put our foot down and protect our own cultures, our own sovereignty, our borders, and our way of life, it's going to be either a world ran by China, or it's going to be a world under the thumb of Islam. Period.
Yep. Pretty sobering when you come to that. I like to make the argument that that the Western nations seem to be so powerful in their armament and their militaries and their resolve as far as our social issues and people that have moral values that differ than the other values of nations that want to come in and infiltrate our countries. But that strength and everything else has a weakness to it, and I think that we're just coming to our weaknesses, really.
The only thing I can say that might turn the tide quicker is a lot of people don't realize that the UK was a huge empire at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their history, they're a proud people, and there are people that literally didn't take any shit. I think it's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to control the people in the UK much longer, and hopefully they rise up and become what they were, and that's a people that it's just going to be like, nope, this ain't happening.
Yep.
We're putting our foot down. We're taking our nation, and we're going to help our European neighbors take their nations back, and also the U.S. Let's just be honest. I mean, for as fickle as we seem, for as much as, you know, we're the country of acceptance and empathy and whatever, we have a history of, you push us hard enough, we're gonna snap.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna
There's a
like the
straw.
retaliation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a straw that definitely breaks the camel's back, and I think we're
Yeah.
there. And
I think
I
we're
have
like
the same.
close.
I have the same. I have the same hope that you do. I mean, I really do. I think that there's a point, and we might be at that point. You know, let's circle back to Trump. I think it's a good thing that he's there. Because of the fact that all of our other leaders seem to lack the moral fortitude or the intestinal fortitude to go ahead and push something like this. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's been coming for a long time, and whether or not he did it or not, I think there was an eventual fact that we would have done it ourselves.
It was going to happen. Yeah,
it was going to happen one way or the other. Yeah. Hey, George, man, it's been great talking to you, man. I love having freaking coffee conversations with you, man. It was fantastic to have you on the show.
You could do more of them. Let me know. You got my number. Let's just set them up, man. You never know. Just say, hey,
absolutely.
let's have a chat.
Yeah. Tell everybody about your podcast.
The podcast, World Ablaze, with George Fonts. It's you could find it at worldablazepodcast.com. And it's a mix of things. It's a mix of my solo episodes, which can be a little more to the point, to say the least. You see a slightly different personality, but I'm also open to talking to everybody. I want to hear all sides. So if you're interested in something that actually discusses the issues while also getting out of my bubble and getting outside echo chambers and talking to people across the aisle, then I think that's the podcast you would really want to listen to.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna say that, and I'm horrible about social media, but look, I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Substack. Handle is @FontsAblaze. I don't push it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't. So you may not see a lot of followers, but the podcast does pretty well. So yeah, check it out.
Yep.
Let me know what you think.
Yep. And John Domingo would be screaming at you. You gotta share everything, man. You gotta share.
Yeah, I mean, look, I only have so much bandwidth. I mean, I've got sponsors I'm trying to work with. I still haven't gotten around to like putting my commercials and my overlays and whatnot together. It's time. I mean, look,
time, man.
This isn't a full-time job for me. It's just
we
not.
need your time, talent, and treasure, guys out there. Give us your time, talent, and treasure. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah.
It's just as good as the sponsorship. But anyway,
Absolutely.
Hey, I know that you're going on live tonight with the Razor Wire. This will probably go out tomorrow, but for Razor Wire you're going on. So go out there and listen to George. If you have to have more George, go see him on Razor Wire.
I don't know if anyone has to have more of me, but no, it'll be a fun time on Razor Wire. And you and I mean, honestly, we're geographically not that far apart whatsoever. Right. So yeah, if you want to set more of these up, sure, man. I'm always open.
Absolutely. And catch us on the morning show on Road Rage 101. You can get that wherever you want to, on X and on any other audio podcasting program or app that you have. And we'll be back again probably in another month with the Weather Report. Maybe Ken will be back. Maybe somebody else will be back, but we'll definitely have another coffee chat. So we'll see you later, and have a good one, and take care, and go get yourself some Colocum craft coffee, and be American. Be American. All right.
And drink it from America's cup. All right.
Absolutely.